You were the kid who actually liked school. While other kids groaned through math, you felt calm surrounded by books and order. You liked the structure, the routine. But more than that, you liked the feeling of understanding something and helping someone else get it too. Maybe it started with your third grade teacher. She saw you, really saw you, told you you'd make a great teacher someday. You held onto that like a seed in your pocket. At home, you lined up your toys like students and taught them what you just learned. You mimicked your teachers' voices, even wrote pretend report cards. It was fun, it felt right. Later, your friends rolled their eyes when you said you wanted to be a teacher. They talked about being doctors or going into business. You said education and people nodded politely, like they didn't quite hear you, but you meant it. In high school, you volunteered to tutor. You stayed after class to help the kid who didn't get fractions. You didn't do it for extra credit. You did it because it felt good to help someone go from confused to confident. You felt useful. You started imagining it. Your classroom, posters on the wall, students actually engaged, a space where kids felt safe and seen. You pictured being the teacher that students remembered years later, the one who made a difference. So when it came time for college, you didn't hesitate. You chose education like someone stepping into their purpose. Your classmates said, "That's noble." Some said, "Good luck living on that salary." You ignored them. You weren't doing this for the money. You were doing it because you believed education mattered. Because somewhere inside you believed one good teacher could change everything. You walked into your first college education class wide-eyed and ready. You studied how to manage a classroom, how to write a lesson plan, how to build trust with students. You learned the theory. You felt prepared. What you didn't learn, what no one really told you, was how heavy the job would feel. Not the workload, not yet. But the emotional part. The quiet, invisible pressure of being the person a kid looks to for safety, structure, and understanding all at once. But back then, none of that crossed your mind. You were chasing something pure, the chance to matter in someone else's life. You thought that was enough, and maybe, for a while it was. The first time you stand in front of a real classroom, you freeze for half a second. It's not nerves, it's the noise, the energy, the complete lack of control. You've planned your lesson, printed your worksheet, practiced your intro. You even brought candy as an icebreaker. But within 5 minutes, phones are out, backpacks are still half zipped, and no one's paying attention. You smile. You try to win them over, they look right through you. You keep going because that's what you were taught. But by the end of class, one kid's asleep, another's yelling across the room, and the worksheet you worked on all night is sitting crumpled under a desk. You pick it up without a word. You tell yourself it was just one bad period. But the next day is the same, and the one after that. You thought students would be difficult. You just didn't expect them to be indifferent. You tried different strategies, group work, personal check-ins, new seating charts. But the energy never changes. They test your limits, push your buttons, ignore your directions. You ask for help. The other teachers are kind but tired. One shrugs and says, "You'll find your rhythm." Another whispers, "Just make it to winter break." You thought teaching would feel like leading a team. Instead, it feels like performing in a room where no one's watching, or worse, where they're watching and don't care. Still, you care. You go home and revise your lessons. You show up early, stay late, try to connect with each student. Some start to soften. A few even smile, but just when it seems like something's clicking, another fight breaks out, or someone curses at you, or admin drops by to observe and silently scribbles in a notebook. It feels like you're drowning with your hands tied. Worse, you start questioning yourself. Is it me? Am I not strong enough? Did I make a mistake? You remember when you used to play school as a kid? How easy it looked. How fulfilling it seemed. This feels nothing like that. You spend your lunch break crying in the staff bathroom one day. You wash your face, go back to class, and try again. Because despite all of it, you haven't given up yet. You still believe you can reach them. You still think it's possible to become the teacher you once needed. You just didn't realize how hard it would be to get there. College was supposed to prepare you for the job. In a way, it did. But mostly, it just drained you. Your schedule is packed. Lectures in the morning, field hours in the afternoon, papers at night. You're learning theory, classroom management styles, Bloom's taxonomy, educational psychology, but none of it feels like it matches what you're seeing in real classrooms. Then comes the practicum, the moment it gets real. You show up to a school 4 days a week, unpaid. You're expected to teach actual lessons, handle behavior, build relationships, all while getting critiqued by a supervising teacher who might barely even speak to you. You grade papers you didn't assign. You're on your feet all day, then go home to write reflections on moments you didn't have time to process. You still have homework for your own college classes too. You fall asleep with your laptop open. You eat ramen because you can't afford anything else. You lose touch with your friends. They're off doing internships that pay or jobs that end when they clock out. You don't get to clock out. Every day feels like proving yourself to people who barely look up. You pour your energy into students who don't know your name. You smile through it because you're told this is the grind. But the truth is, it's exploitation. You're working for free. You're juggling 2 lives, and no one talks about how it chips away at your confidence. You start to wonder if this is what the job is going to feel like forever. All output, no return. You hear stories from others in your cohort. Someone got yelled at by a mentor teacher. Someone else had a breakdown in the copy room. You laugh about it together, but it's not really funny. The student loan bills are real. The exhaustion is real. The doubt is real. You wonder how anyone gets through this. You keep going because quitting feels worse than struggling. Because you've already put in too much. Because deep down, you still believe in the dream, even if it's gotten blurry. By the time you finish your certification, you're proud. But you're also tired in a way you didn't expect. This wasn't just academic work, it was emotional labor. And no one graded you for that. They hand you a degree, people clap, they say, now the real work begins. And you know they're right. You just hope you have enough left to make it through. You get your first full-time teaching job, and it finally feels official. Your own classroom, your own students, your own desk with a broken drawer. You hang a motivational poster on the wall and write your name in marker on the whiteboard. For a moment, it feels like you made it. Then the students walk in. You've got 30 of them, maybe more. Some are dealing with trauma, some don't speak English. A few have already decided school is the enemy. You're told to differentiate for all of them. Personalize lessons, adjust assessments, maintain engagement, all while keeping them quiet, respectful, and on grade level. You try hard. You stay up late designing creative projects. You make extra copies in case someone forgets theirs. You build relationships one conversation at a time, but it's never enough. The printer jams, the lesson flops. A student curses at you in front of the class. You send an email home, no response. You write a referral, nothing changes. And just when you think you're getting the hang of it, a new policy rolls in. More data tracking, more meetings, less prep time. You spend your planning period inputting numbers into a spreadsheet instead of prepping for your next class. You buy your own supplies. You stay after school helping students make up work they never intended to do. You give second chances, third, fourth. Meanwhile, the world outside keeps saying teachers are lazy. Your friends think your day ends at 3 p.m. They joke about summers off. You smile, but inside you're thinking about the 100 ungraded essays in your bag. There are moments that break you. A fight in the hallway, a student crying after class, a parent blaming you for everything, an administrator observing your worst period and writing vague feedback like, try to increase student engagement. You start waking up with a pit in your stomach, not because you don't care, but because you care too much and it's eating you alive. You wonder how long you can do this. How long before the stress turns permanent? How long before you stop trying? But you still show up. You still care about the kid who never turns in homework but says thank you on the way out. You still hold on to the small wins, the quiet moments when someone finally gets it or tells you you're their favorite teacher, even if they don't act like it. You don't stay because it's easy. You stay because even now, even after everything, you still believe it matters. The years blur together. You don't remember every lesson you taught, but you remember the faces. The girl who sat in the front and always asked questions. The boy who never brought a pencil but wrote the most honest journal entries. The student who acted tough but broke down in your room when no one else was looking. They stay with you. You don't remember all the meetings or all the acronyms they threw at you, but you remember your first real classroom. How empty it looked at 7 a.m. How loud it felt at 2:45. How much you wanted to get it right. There were so many times you thought about leaving. You even typed up a resignation letter once. Saved it as a draft. You were exhausted, overwhelmed, burned out from giving everything and getting so little back. But then something always pulled you back. A kid saying, you actually listen? A parent writing, you believed in them when no one else did. A student who comes back years later just to say thanks. You start to realize something. Teaching was never about instant results. It's about planting seeds you might never see grow. It's about showing up even when it feels like no one notices. It's about holding the line so that someone else has a chance to step forward. The world never made it easy. Budgets got cut, expectations went up, the public blamed you for everything. Test scores are down. Kids don't respect authority. Teachers have it easy. You stopped correcting them. You were too tired, but you kept showing up. You showed up during flu outbreaks, during lockdown drills, During curriculum overhauls and leadership changes and new technology tools that broke every week, you showed up when you were sick, when you were grieving, when you had nothing left in the tank. And through all of it, you still taught. Not just subjects, but people. You taught how to manage stress, how to communicate, how to sit with frustration, how to try again after failure. You became more than a teacher. You became a mentor, a parent figure, a safe space, a steady presence in a world full of noise. You gave parts of yourself that no one will ever see on a resume. Time, patience, empathy, energy. And still, some people will never understand what you've done, but the ones who matter do. Because they remember how it felt to walk into your classroom and feel like they belonged. Now you're older, maybe retiring, maybe just done with the system. You pack up your room slowly. Each drawer holds a piece of who you were. You find old notes from students, drawings. World's best teacher mugs, cracked but treasured. You sit down at your empty desk and breathe. You didn't win awards. You didn't go viral. You didn't get rich. But you showed up. You showed up for the kids who were hard to love. You showed up when no one else did. You showed up when the job gave nothing back but stress and paperwork, and you still gave it your heart. That's why it sucks to be a teacher.